Hello and welcome to Film with Family. I'm Austin.
And I'm Zach.
And we're two cousins talking about film. Today we're talking about the 1987 sci-fi action thriller with Arnold Schwarzenegger, Predator. But before we talk about that, I just want to say hi to Zach. What's up, Zach?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good, Austin. I have been thinking, you know how Caleb did the rebuttal.
The take two?
Yeah, he did a take two and he sent us an audio recording kind of relitigating a point from Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Right.
And it got me thinking about our previous episodes that we've done and like things I wish I said or didn't say. So yeah, I wanna play something I recorded. Yeah, so here it is. All right, so I had some thoughts for the Robin Hood episode. I refer to Caleb as my older brother a few times, but now I think about it, maybe that if people don't know me, they'd think that would assume that I have multiple brothers or like I had a younger brother, but in all actuality, I only have the one brother, and he is older. But I just wanted to clarify that he is my only brother, and I don't have a younger brother. For the Oscar Cocaine Academy episode, I feel bad about how I called Christopher Guest old, or that he looked old or looked bad. That was rude. Everybody ages, and I shouldn't say things like that about Christopher Guest. For the Into the Wild episode, I talk about a road trip I went on to California, and I didn't say it at the time, but, we mentioned like how in the movie Into the Wild, he meets all these interesting people along the way, interesting strangers, but that wasn't my experience. I didn't really meet anybody at all. I was just driving around, and the only people I met were gas station clerks and hotel receptionists, and most of those interactions were very boring and not worthy of note. So I didn't make any new friends on that road trip. So for me, that was not my experience. So I don't want people to get the idea that if you go on a road trip, you're guaranteed to meet awesome, cool, interesting people, because sometimes it doesn't happen. Oh yeah, for the Raising Arizona episode, we didn't talk about the final showdown between H.I. and Leonard Smalls at all, which is a great scene, with him like crawling under the car trying to get him, and Leonard Smalls like pulls out Nick Cage by his leg, and the whole grenade bit. So yeah, I thought that was worth mentioning, that I love that scene as well. All right, there's my take two. Thanks, bye.
Wow, Zach. I didn't realize you had so many regrets.
Yeah, I mean,
Are you doing okay?
No, it's been good. I just, you just have things that you kind of realize you wish you said, and was on
Yeah, you need to get that off your chest. It seemed like it was really weighing you down.
Yeah, particularly the Christopher Guest thing. My sister texted me like, man, you really
fucked up there.
just did a drive-by on Christopher Guest, and I was like, she's right.
Well, we all say things in the moment in the heat of passion, and sometimes you say things that you don't really mean, and
yeah.
That happens a lot in families.
That's true.
You get a little too comfortable with your cousin. You just start spouting off at the mouth when you're clowning Christopher Guest, and I get it.
Yeah, some things you can't take back.
Some things you can't take back. I mean, but thankfully Christopher Guest will never hear that ever in his life.
Yeah, that's good.
It will never ever get back to him, so I don't think I have anything to worry about.
I feel like he doesn't listen to podcasts in general, let alone our podcast. But
well, Zach, I actually have a take two of my own. Last week we talked about Twister, and I neglected two huge facts about this movie that I'm really sad that we didn't get to talk to Kim about.
Let's hear it.
So number one is Twister was the first DVD ever made.
Wow.
Ever made. So there was a time when if you had a
What
DVD
year was
player,
this?
97, I think.
Oh, wow. DVDs in 97.
The digital video disc is the brand new technology that the consumer electronics industry hopes will become the first video mega hit since the VCR. The digital video disc won't take off without popular titles to play on them. Time Warner and Sony are releasing the first wave of movies on DVD, including Twister and Mars Attacks.
Not a bad starting point, honestly. I wonder what the DVD menu looked like, how shitty it was. Being the first DVD must have been pretty bad.
Yeah, I wonder if it even had a menu, just like maybe went straight into the movie. I think I want to buy a first edition Twister and put it in a glass case.
It's probably hundreds of dollars, the first DVD ever.
I actually looked it up and you can get them for like $5.
Okay, a first edition.
Yeah. I don't think anybody's clamoring to get a first edition Twister DVD, but I don't think they know what they have.
That's true.
It's history.
So what's the other fact?
The other fact is the original tagline for Twister was "It sucks." Just 2 words. It sucks.
They decided that wasn't a good tagline.
Great tagline, I think, but they nixed it because they were like, "Oh wait, maybe people who don't like the movie will use that against us." It's like, well, yeah. You're literally saying that the movie sucks.
Yeah, they didn't think about what it actually meant to say that.
Yeah, but I mean, it does not suck.
It's in the suck zone, but that's a good thing.
Yeah. So that's my take too.
Right. Yeah, I was thinking, since we got this new email for the podcast, Film with Family podcast at Gmail, if people or fans or family who are listening, they feel like they have like a quick hot take about any of the movies we cover, and like send us a little audio file, and maybe we'll play it on the podcast.
Maybe we will. Maybe you'd be so lucky. You got a hot take too? Email us at filmwithfamilypodcast@gmail.com. We got a Gmail, folks. We're fucking official.
All right, so we should bring on our guest here.
Absolutely. Let's not waste any more time. We got to get into Predator with our California cousin, Sean Zweifler. Sean, how you doing?
Not bad. Glad to be here.
Sean, where are you calling in from right now?
Fresno, California, one of the armpits of the world. A very hot place, a hot place that a predator would like to hunt in.
What's the weather like today over there in Fresno?
It's actually really pleasant. It's, it's like 70 and 60-ish and windy. So, not bad for March.
Yeah, that sounds like pretty nice weather. It's like 30 degrees and kind of rainy and snowy in Chicago today.
It's nice in Michigan right now. 50 and sunny.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, so we're in 3 cousins in 3 different locations. And this is how it kind of always is. I'm the Chicago cousin. Zach, you're the Michigan cousin, and Sean, you're the California cousin.
Pretty standard.
That's how it's always gone. Oh yeah, I was wondering, Sean, have you guys been getting all that rain?
Yeah, actually, it's starting to get a little worrying, but it's hopefully we're done for the rain for now. We're just waiting on all the snow to melt and see how that goes, see how much of the valley turns into a lake, and how many homes get flooded and how much farmland gets destroyed. So it's going to be an interesting spring and summer.
So like you're talking about the snow on the mountains melting and coming down in the summer?
Yeah, because we're in a giant valley. We got the Sierra Nevada right up there next to us, and there's a fuck ton of snow this year, and it's not gonna go great for everyone. But thankfully Fresno's a little higher up. There's a lot of communities that they built on an old lake bed, so they're probably not going to do great this year. There's a lot of communities that were built much too close to the river, and they're not going to do great this year. So, I'm just fingers crossed and, stock up on almonds and pistachios because they might start getting much more expensive. So,
Oh, right. Yeah. So would you rather have a drought or a flood?
I mean, me personally, because I'm not going to be that affected by the flood, the flood.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it feels like finally you're getting the water that you've always dreamed of, and it's a little too much.
Yeah,
Careful
it
what
is
you
a
wish
balancing
for.
act, but all my fruit trees are well watered and all my little seeds and things I planted are doing great. So,
That's good.
Yeah, you got a little garden going at your place, right?
yeah, we got our Brussels sprouts are popping off. We got our kale and our collard greens. I got all my fruit trees I got little baby apricots and little grape leaves sprouting. So,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, no, so that part's exciting. But yeah, no, they put a bunch of orchards. There's this like giant lake bed. It was like the largest lake west of the Mississippi, and they decided to plant a bunch of pistachio and almond trees down there. So those are probably all going to die. So a lot of people are going to be losing a lot of money, but what you going to do?
What you gonna do?
Not my problem.
One thing that didn't lose money is Predator.
No, it did not, actually. I was kind of surprised by that.
Yeah,
A lot of money.
A lot of money, yeah. So yeah, let's talk about Predator. Sean, so we kind of put out the call to the whole family and said, we're doing this podcast, think of a movie, and you were the first one to get back to us and you said, I call Predator. I wouldn't associate this kind of movie with you. What is it about this movie that made you want to talk about this one?
Well, I mean, at its heart, it is a pretty dumb sci-fi movie. The plot is incredibly simple, which apparently, all the critics pointed out at the time of just like, there's no plot here. Like a bunch of guys go into the jungle and most of them die and blah, blah, blah. But like, It's also, it's filmed on location in the jungle. So that helps.
Yeah. In Mexico.
It's got 2 different governors and 1 failed governor. So, the political junkie in me definitely appreciates that a little.
Yeah. Definitely want to talk about the 2 governors, Jesse, the body Ventura.
We should talk about the failed governor too, because I feel like that's an even funnier story.
Wait, are you talking about Jesse?
No, Billy, the tracker, ran for governor in Kentucky.
You're talking about Sonny Landham, right?
Yes, Sonny Landham ran for governor, failed. He ran as a libertarian, and his policy platform was against family court because he had gotten divorced and fucked over in family court. And so he's doing a men's rights, father's rights kind of bullshit campaign, loses, and then proceeds to later run against Mitch McConnell for Senate as a libertarian. But the Libertarian Party, he gets so racist. He's I'm not even going to repeat what he says because it's disgusting. But it's post 9/11, pretty standard issue anti-Arab shit, but actually much worse than standard issue anti-Arab shit. And the Libertarian Party asked him to remove himself from nomination. They're you're too racist for the Libertarian Party.
Wow. Is this in Kentucky?
This is in Kentucky, so he's too racist for the Kentucky Libertarian Party, which is
that's incredible. I didn't realize that. The only piece of trivia I know right now about Sonny Landham is that he had a bodyguard during the filming of this movie that was to protect everybody else from Sonny Landham.
Yeah, to keep him in check.
Just a world historical piece of shit, apparently. So,
yeah. I mean, I don't know. Do you know anything else about this guy?
I've never seen him in anything else. He just seems like a fucking asshole.
Apparently he's in The Warriors and Poltergeist.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Not sure he plays in those.
He is great in this movie, though. I mean,
perfect. I mean, it is a perfect movie in a lot of ways. It's just it's very simple. It's very to the point. It's got some great action scenes. It's got a few classic 80s one-liners, but not too many.
And the lines that are in there are like iconic.
They're classic,
Yeah.
Yeah.
sexual tyrannosaur, stick around, get to the CHOPPA, classic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Everything's
it's just,
great.
a good monster, very well designed, pretty intimidating monster. So
Yeah, I was impressed when he takes off the mask and you really get to see the face. I'm like, damn, this looks really good for the 80s. Like just like this creature design.
no, for sure.
Yeah, the creature design is amazing. The guy who did it, Stan Winston, one of the most legendary creature creators, also worked with James Cameron on Terminator. He was actually, when he was designing the Predator face, Jim Cameron was like sitting next to him. And he was like, I always wanted to see something with mandibles or something like that. And he was like, oh, okay. So it was like James Cameron actually gave him that idea to
wow.
give him like the mandibles on the face.
Which are super effective. It makes it so much creepier than if it just had a regular mouth.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It looks so cool. And then the guy who did the voice, the noises for the Predator is this guy, Peter Cullen, who's a legendary voice actor. He's the voice of Optimus Prime. He's got a bazillion film and TV credits.
I saw this ugly, ugly face, and it reminded me of a upside down horseshoe crab dying in the sun on a beach when I was a kid. But from that horseshoe crab was coming all this crackling sounds, bubbles coming out that were bursting. So I thought, okay.
The horseshoe crab dying sound.
Yeah, that's awesome. So we were just talking about this. The Predator that we see was not the original Predator.
Yeah. The Jean-Claude Van Damme Predator.
Yes. So the original Predator was Jean-Claude Van Damme in his would have been his first role.
Oh wow.
And he was put into this suit that I guess was so uncomfortable that he did nothing but complain.
Yeah, so I was actually trying to figure out what was going on there, because there's a bunch of different stories. There's stories of Jean-Claude Van Damme just kept passing out, just couldn't hack it, it was too hot. The other story that I heard was that Bloodsport had got green lighted in the period between him agreeing to do this role and actually filming starting, and he's I could have a fucking mask on and pass out all the time in this awful heat, or I could do Bloodsport, which obviously 80s classic, and he made the right fucking choice.
Yeah, and apparently he said that they made him wear these stilts and were making him jump out of trees with stilts on, and he was like, this isn't going to work, I'm going to break my legs.
Yeah.
And that was when he got fired, and I guess they tried to get somebody just to replace Jean-Claude Van Damme in the old suit, which I don't know if you've seen the old suit, but it looks
terrible.
It looks terrible. It looks I thought it kind of looks like the droid aliens from the first episode of Star Wars. It's kind of got that weird thin face,
Yeah.
and kind of hunched over. But I guess they got somebody else to put on that suit, and then that guy got injured. And then that was when they were like, we've got to do something else. And so then they hired Kevin Peter Hall, who's 7'2", and he was the Harry and the Hendersons. He was Harry.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
A role that ultimately ended up killing him, apparently.
Harry?
Kevin Peter Hall. Yeah, no. So there was a TV show version, and somehow he got injured, needed a blood transfusion. And this was in the era before AIDS testing and blood transfusions. He got AIDS and died, or HIV, and then developed AIDS and eventually died.
Oh, that is tragic.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. And everybody, everything that I'm hearing about him was that he was just the sweetest, nicest guy, this poetic, gentle giant, also the Predator.
I remember meeting Kevin Peter Hall for the first time when he came to the studio to prepare for the process of creating the Predator. Here is this wonderfully soft-hearted, intelligent, poetic giant of a man.
Hi, Mom. What are you doing
Mom
here?
out there?
Yeah, that's my mom.
That's your mom?
What are you doing here in the middle of Mexico?
It's amazing.
He was just a really sweetheart of a guy, you know, big and tall and, you know, and soft and sweet inside.
Kevin Peter Hall was a great kid. He got a lot of work playing monsters because he was 7 feet 6 inches tall.
When you look at Kevin Peter Hall in that wardrobe makeup and with that size, and you see him against Arnold, you believe, ooh, Arnie's in trouble.
The Predator's kind of he's a nice guy though, you know, when you get to know him.
Yeah, I mean, maybe on his homeworld he was, you know, you never really get the like personality of the Predator other than like he likes to hunt, but there's some nice hunters out there.
Yeah, well, I really like how he, you know, when Arnold Schwarzenegger, he like is disarmed, and then the Predator takes off his like shoulder cannon, and he takes off his mask, and he's like, all right, I'm gonna go down on your level, you know.
Yeah.
That's a respectable move.
It is, but then when he's like at the end, like, okay, I'm gonna self-destruct and try and like blow you up because you beat me, like that's kind of a dick move. So
Yeah, that's a good call. Yeah.
But I think it's like his honor, you know.
Yeah.
It's like seppuku, and he's like, you better run, bro, because I'm doing this whether you like it or not.
And he has that very human laugh.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
human maniacal laugh.
That's a part of this. Well, so we should back up just a little bit and tell you, Sean, that this is the first time I or Zach have ever seen this movie.
are you fucking serious? Well, I am. You're welcome. For
Yeah,
one.
no, seriously. So
Yeah, I'm
thank you
glad.
so much for bringing this movie to my attention. Well, it's like, obviously, it's like I've always known the movie. I know the Predator look. I know the classic lines. I've definitely seen the first like 20 minutes of this movie. You know, the whole Dylan, you son of a bitch.
Too much pushing pencils.
Yeah, CIA still have you pushing pencils. I mean, that's just incredible. I remember, you know, people just showing me that just to be like, look how amazing this is. And then obviously it became like a cultural meme.
Yeah, the arms.
Mhm.
Yes, exactly. Like the best handshake of all time.
Yeah. I didn't realize Get to the CHOPPA was from this movie, which was kind of blew my mind.
There's just so many classic iconic moments in this movie that I don't know, because it's just in the cultural atmosphere, I just feel like I had seen this movie, but as I was watching, I was like, I don't know at all what's coming. And the sense of terror really is there.
Yeah.
I mean, because even though the graphics kind of make it look a little cheesy, it's sort of got this old like 1950s Universal creature movie aspect to it, like where it's just like we've got this one thing that's out there that's like just slaughtering everybody. And I think that the thing that really makes it scary is seeing like the skinned humans and like what this thing is capable of doing. And I don't know, and the acting is just great. Everybody looks really on edge, like
Yeah. Sweaty and stressed out and
Yeah, super sweaty.
so sweaty. It's a very sweaty movie.
they were like, it was hot in Mexico when they were
Yeah.
shooting this, and it was just torturous. Apparently, like they were just
Well, apparently they all got like really sick too. Like
Mhm.
not unfiltered water, and like the director, like John McTiernan, like wasn't really eating, like lost like 20 something pounds. Like Schwarzenegger lost a bunch of weight. Like they
Mhm.
all had diarrhea. Like it was just like a really torturous like on location filming. And then
yeah.
at night they're like going and like getting drunk and smoking cigars and apparently fighting with the locals, at least in Sonny Landham's case. So
Oh
Oh my
god.
god.
yeah, no, it's a miracle any of them survived it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, and they were I saw this interview with Jesse Ventura, who said that there were these snakes around called two-step snakes. If you get bit by one, you have 2 steps and then you die. And like those scorpions, like the scorpion that he kills on his back, those were invading the set everywhere. Like they had those scorpions were everywhere. When they were in the little pond or the lake, where Arnold is crawling through when he gets the mud on him and everything, filled with leeches. Yeah. So I mean, like they were really in the middle of it. It was the real deal.
Yeah, Sean, how do you feel about Arnold Schwarzenegger in general as a governor and an actor? Like, what's your relationship to this guy?
I mean, as an actor, he's one of the best. I'd put him up there with Tom Cruise in terms of just like getting great movies made and excelling in them and just being like incredibly watchable. Like you can never take your eyes off Arnold Schwarzenegger. And like, he's in some of the like most interesting sci-fi movies ever. And it's the same with Tom Cruise. But I mean, Arnold Schwarzenegger. So you got Terminator and Terminator 2.
Classic.
You got Predator, obviously.
Classic.
You have Total Recall.
Incredible.
You have Running Man. Yeah, no, I mean, he just like some of the best, like most interesting, like, pure 80s sci-fi movies out there.
Not going to disagree.
Obviously, incredible physique, just like the definition of like muscles and everything.
Mm-hmm.
As a governor, honestly, not bad. Not great, but for like a Republican governor, about as good as you're gonna get.
Yeah.
He did some.
Yeah, what did he do? I don't even know.
Wait, he was governor for like 8 years, right?
Oh yeah, no, he ran. Yeah. He won re-election. I mean, his initial win was kind of this weird situation where like they recalled the governor, and then there were like, Gary Coleman was running, like multiple porn stars were running. There were bounty hunters. It was like 100-something people running for governor.
Yeah.
So he managed to squeak through on that. But then, he was in office, and it's just like, yeah, he's fine. It's like kind of amusing that Arnold Schwarzenegger is our governor. So like people voted for him for re-election. And,
yeah,
I mean, I think ultimately, I think his legacy is that he didn't do a ton. Which is both a good and a bad thing. He didn't really fuck anything up. And granted, I'm not like, fucking California policy expert, blah, blah, blah. But, my
you're our resident expert. I mean, we don't know shit about California politics. Yeah.
And granted, I mean, this is, 15 years ago now. He entered office like 2003 and left like 2010 or something. So it's been a minute since he's been governor, but I
just remember it just seeming comical as a kid in high school, just knowing that Arnold Schwarzenegger was the governor of California. But I mean, I guess at that time you didn't really know the history of people like Ronald Reagan being, governor of California. So having an actor run that state is not it wasn't without precedent.
No, and he's certainly a lot better than Ronald Reagan. Would take him over old fucking shut down the mental hospitals and murder protesters, Ronnie, any day. So
yeah, I haven't heard any punk songs protesting Schwarzenegger. Like
no, Dead Kennedys. They should have updated it because they did both a Jerry Brown version and a Ronald Reagan version. So I'm surprised they never did a Schwarzenegger version. Although
nobody wants to fuck with Arnold.
I am Governor Schwarzenegger. I don't know. It doesn't quite.
Yeah.
You
can't really talk shit about Arnold Schwarzenegger because then it's like you got to turn your back on all the movies. It's like you could turn your back on Ronald Reagan's movies. Like, what do you do? That one with the monkey? It's like, all right. Nobody gives a shit about that.
Yeah. Total Recall is so good. I saw that for the first time a few years ago, and it's like, that movie's amazing.
It's incredible. Yeah. No,
incredible
absolutely.
Practical effects. Arnold's awesome in it.
Yeah, I think you're so right, Sean. I mean, he really is just the best action star probably we've ever had. I mean, next to somebody like Tom Cruise, maybe, who's still doing it. I mean, like that's pretty much the only thing that Tom Cruise has on Arnold Schwarzenegger is that like Schwarzenegger isn't really making movies anymore, and he hasn't really made a great one in a while.
No.
Do you want to just dig into the movie itself a little bit?
Let's do it. Yeah.
So we've got this team of guys.
The best.
Hired by the CIA, right?
Yeah. So they're special forces, presumably Green Beret, something along those lines.
Right. And they rescue. They're not assassins. They're rescuers. That's what Arnold says. But as we go along, it's like your method of rescuing has a lot to do with killing people. But...
Also, all right, we can get to this when we get to this, but the rescuing hostages when they just blow up the fucking base, like
yeah, I'm like, they're all dead, right?
Yeah. You just murdered all these hostages and said they're CIA? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a bit of a confusing bit because like he's like, you set us up, and I didn't really understand how they were set up or like what exactly why he was
Yeah.
mad in that situation.
This team is dropped into Latin America to save some hostages from a guerrilla group. But it's not really defined, right? It's just like
they're communists, because the Russians are involved, and the CIA's out to get. So yeah, they're a Marxist guerrilla group. It's an undefined country, and supposedly some like friendly, to the U.S. cabinet minister and some other diplomats have been shot down, and they've been captured by this guerrilla group, and it's like absolutely essential to pull him out of the jungle. And so that's where Arnold and his team come in.
Right.
So you get to the big hostage rescue scene, which I have a lot of feelings about. It's honestly one of the weaker parts of the movie.
You think?
Yeah, I mean, the rest of the movie is just like so tense and so.
Well, the gratuitous gunfire is a little much, but it's almost to a point where it's hilarious how much they're shooting and blowing stuff up, which I like. I typically just hate gunfire in movies. I just feel like it just is boring. Like, I'm like, what?
Yeah.
It seems cheap and easy just to be firing guns around. But this is just so insanely
it's so
gratuitous
over the
that
top.
It's like hilarious.
Just all the explosions and
the Gatling gun.
Yeah, no, for sure. The one part I do like the part where Arnold like lifts up the truck and like puts the bomb on it. Like, that's a pretty badass scene of just
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. I mean, the way that all gets kicked off. I mean, but just backing up a little bit, they get dropped into this country and they're kind of walking around the jungle trying to find this guerrilla camp. And before they get there, they see 3 soldiers skinned alive, which is super grisly and just like a very disturbing image, especially because they're like hanging upside down, like they're like lynched or
it's
something.
legitimately unsettling. I mean, and it obviously like freaks out these like hardened Marines, and like they knew the guy,
right, Hopper.
I do want to go back even farther.
We're doing everything backwards.
Yeah, it's like Memento. But yeah, just like the introduction of Arnold with the little hat he's wearing, and I'm smoking a cigar and the sunglasses. Like, I just love that first introduction to him.
No, it is classic Arnold. Just like, I'm so fucking cool. I got my cigar. Totally not a penis.
Yeah.
I mean, all of them, though, if you look at them when they jump out of that helicopter, like Jesse Ventura is wearing like, I think like an MTV shirt.
Yeah.
Like, one of them is like in a suit for some reason. It's like, who are these guys? Like where did they all just come from? Like they just scooped him up different places all over the country. Like Jesse was like at like a concert or something. They're like, we gotta go. Like,
gotta rescue these hostages now. No, and that whole scene is kind of, ridiculous of just like you have all these Jeeps and it's like super like stylized. Was something that really caught my eye of just like, I mean, it's very much like kind of operator, like operator porn, I guess is the way to describe it, of just like, look at these like badass guys and all their badass gear and like all that, which I feel like goes hand in hand with the scene where they, attack the rebel base just to like, they're establishing that these guys are the ultimate badasses.
Yeah. Was there more that you wanted to say about that?
I just want to talk a little bit more just about the scene where they meet Carl Weathers.
Dylan!
Yeah. I didn't realize that it turns into like an arm wrestling match a little bit. Like, I feel like I've only seen the clip of like just like the grab and then like just like a really short clip, and then it turns into like this whole like little struggle, which incredible.
Arnold obviously wins.
Yeah. No contest.
But yeah, Carl Weathers is great. As a fan of Arrested Development, he has a really fun character in Arrested Development. Carl Weathers does.
Yeah,
he's like obsessed with like getting the stew going. I think he's great in this movie.
Yeah, and I just like love how like Arnold's just giving him so much shit. He's just like, "What is this fucking tie bullshit? You're wearing a tie."
Yeah, just the razzing in this movie, and yeah, I do also want to talk about that helicopter scene where you get to know these guys a bit. It's like a 3-minute helicopter scene where they're listening to Long Tall Sally by Little Richard, and they're like like saying like awful slurs, and that one guy's making the big pussy joke, and it's not really landing.
No.
I think that guy might be Shane Black.
So he is. So I actually did some reading about this, and the reason that they hired him as an actor was they're like, this script is a little weak, but we're going to be on location in Mexico, and like maybe, and this guy is apparently like, you know, like the highest rated screenwriter at this point. Like he'd just written Lethal Weapon, and so they're like, oh, we'll have him as like a captive, you know, fucking writing. And he was just like, no, I'm an actor on this. Like, that's what you're paying for me for. I'm not going to do it. The only things he wrote were the two big pussy jokes.
That's funny.
Terrible.
Terrible.
Terrible. Like that's probably the worst part of the movie is him telling those jokes. It's like this totally unnecessary, like awful jokes.
Doesn't land.
The other day, I was going down to my girlfriend. I said to her, "Jeez, you got a big pussy. Jeez, you got a big pussy." She said, "Why did you say that twice?" And I said I didn't. See, it's because of the echo.
Yeah, I like that none of the characters like him either, though. Like it's like it seems like the film's aware that they're not landing and they're horrible jokes, so I kind of like them. But yeah, Shane Black, I do like it. Or like I love Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, which he wrote and directed, and The Nice Guys. I think those are two good movies, and he directed both of those.
And he also directed Predators.
Oh,
or is it The Predator? Or
there's The Predator, and then there's Predators.
Okay.
Oh, is Predators the one where they're like at the like research facility? Like the Predators is the one on Earth, because that one is fucking unwatchable. I tried watching it and it sucks ass.
Is that the one with Keegan Michael Key in it?
I think so. Yeah, I think it. Hold on.
Not the Adrian Brody one, not the one where they're like dropped off on like the game hunting reserve.
Oh no. Sorry, I'm wrong. No, he did The Predator, because there's so many. It's like what you got Predator, you've got The Predator, and then you've got Predators
and Prey.
Right.
Oh no, The Predator is the awful one, unwatchable.
Oh, that's the Shane Black one.
And directed and co-written by Shane. Okay, yeah, no, unwatchable.
Yeah, my first introduction to Predator as a film series was watching Prey last year,
which is great.
I thought that movie ruled.
Yeah, no, I'd say the only one worth watching other than Predator.
Okay, so I'm doing good. I've seen Prey and Predator. That's all I need.
You're set.
Predator 2 seems pretty wacky. It's like the Predator in LA during the race riots.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And there's like a Rastafarian voodoo gang.
Fear Jamaican voodoo posse.
So there's like a Rastaman named King Willie in Predator 2, and like he just does like the most caricature of a Rasta man like that you've ever seen.
There's no stopping what can't be stopped. No killing what can't be killed. Hey, make sense, man. This thing that's killing your people and mine is from the other side. I can feel him all around. You can't see the eyes of the demon until him come calling.
And it's just weird too, because it's like obviously the Predator is modeled after like Rastafarian kings.
Yeah,
he's got dreads.
Or tentacles. I don't know what they would be called on his planet, but
dreadicles. I don't know.
Dreadicles. That's incredible.
Thank you.
You know, I think they get away with it in Predator. I mean, like it doesn't strike me as offensive.
It feels like its own thing. I was more offended by the dreads that Spider had in Avatar: Way of Water.
Yes.
But we don't have to get into that.
No. So just going through the plot a little bit more. So they go in and ravage this guerrilla camp with gunfire and grenade launchers and a minigun,
trucks,
and not a scratch on him. I guess Jesse Ventura is like bleeding a little bit.
He ain't got time to bleed.
You ain't got time to bleed, got time to duck. But yeah, no, they just like eliminate this fucking camp, just like bombs everywhere. Where supposedly there's hostages that they're going to rescue.
Yeah. They're not tactful at all. It's just
not at all. Just like
indiscriminate gunfire.
Yeah.
Yeah, did we figure out like what's the setup that Arnold's complaining about to Carl Weathers?
They're the people that the guerrillas had taken are CIA agents. They're not, this like diplomatic cabinet members that they had been told, So this is like, there's like a CIA team that's gone in, and and they had also like already sent in like the Green Beret team or whatever, Hopper's team that they find skinned earlier. Mm-hmm. So there's just a lot that like, Carl Weathers has been lying about.
So like there was already a mission before them to rescue these CIA agents. They died. And then, so this is like the second team coming in to try to rescue them. Correct?
Yeah.
That's what's going on. Okay. That clears it up.
And then the whole idea though, I want to touch on the whole idea of how ridiculous it is to be a fucking special forces team and be like, oh, we don't go like assassinate fucking Marxist guerrillas like in the 80s. Like that's your whole fucking job. Like literally that's what you do.
And then the one thing that I'm still like hung up on is like, why did they rescue the girl? Why did they take the girl?
It really doesn't make a ton of sense in like a plot point of view. As a character, she doesn't really make a ton of sense. Like she's barely there. Like she contributes very little. Like it's okay, you got to go like chase her around, and like she gets the like 30-second exposition speech about like the monster that comes when it's hot, or the creature that makes trophies of humans or whatever she describes them as.
Yeah,
so like she's doing a little bit in the movie, but not really. She's like incredibly extraneous, and like also okay, so like extraneous like. Pretty hot woman in an action movie. There's no boobs either, so it's not like you have like bad justification for it. So it's like it doesn't make a ton of sense why she's there.
Yeah, she's not hypersexualized or anything.
No, she's really not. Which is actually like kind of impressive
there
for an '80s movie. Like it's not like her and Arnold bone before she like goes off to the helicopter, which is like usually the point of these like rescued hostage women in like '80s movies or whatever.
But what is their reasoning for having her there?
That
like
she's got info.
Yeah,
info maybe.
Yeah, no, I mean that's what they say. Like, oh, she knows all about the guerrilla network or whatever, and it's like, okay, I guess like that seems like a great way to get
CIA. Don't you know everything already?
Well, they've already taken all the documents. Like they know what's going on.
The only info that she has is about the Predator.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, her character is ridiculous in a lot of ways. Like the way that like she like is from there, but runs off to like the CIA's fucking helicopter like landing zone. It's like, don't like you don't know what's gonna happen to you. Like you're a fucking Marxist guerrilla that was just like kidnapped by these dudes. And then when she sees Arnold Schwarzenegger at the end and like cries, it's like he killed all of your friends. Like
he killed your family.
Yeah, literally, probably. There's probably had a relative or two in that camp. Like, yeah. So
I mean, Arnold refers to her as luggage.
Yeah,
this is not your friend. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So that was one problem I had with it. But I mean, I'm just getting this out of the way because overall, the movie is just riveting. You really are feeling the tension of. When is the Predator going to come out? They do a really good job of disguising the Predator. And, I think that the actual Predator only has like 8 minutes of screen time in the whole movie. Movie is, an hour and 45 minutes or so. And
does that include like the little CGI, like little camo or like little
I don't
shots?
know. Maybe. I mean, we can review and count up all the seconds that we see the Predator, but I think
are you also included? There's the thermal imaging or whatever, which is it's kind of goofy, but it's also like it's really effective, and it's like it
Oh,
gives
it's
it
great.
that real
Yeah.
like kind of stripped down like 80s like synthwave kind of vibe of just like,
Oh, for sure.
you've got the like heat map, and no,
Yeah.
I think it's like it's incredibly interesting and effective how it's done. But I mean that's like your introduction to the Predator for a while, other than at the very, very beginning, which you get like 2 seconds of like a spaceship comes by and something comes down. And so it's like, okay, there's an alien
Oh yeah, I
here.
forgot
Other than
about
that, I mean,
that.
yeah, for the first like hour, all you're getting is like thermal imaging and like, little like, the occasional like, oh, there's something in the trees, like
Yeah.
little bits of like camouflage wispiness or whatever. But yeah, I mean, it's a very like hidden monster for the most part.
Yeah. And the look of the invisible Predator was actually kind of new, and I think that was part of like why it was nominated for visual effects in the Oscars, because like what they did was basically shoot this guy in a red suit, so like the red would really be able to be keyed out in the green forest, and then they shot a wide angle lens of just the forest, like where the actor was coming at them, and then they superimposed the wide angle lens on the keyed out monster. So what you're seeing is basically like a distorted image of the forest coming at you.
Oh, that's really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, they have some like if you look at the behind the scenes, they have some shots of like the guy in the red suit. He just looks like pretty silly. I mean, like that's like where it's like it really does feel like it harkens back to like old 50s creature movies, because like when you look at like what these things actually look like, and especially the original Predator costume, it just looks goofy. It looks like a creature from the Black Lagoon kind of thing. But that guy Stan Winston really gave it so much power, because once you do actually see the monster's face, you're like, whoa, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm afraid of this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's the connection with Alien? Because I know the franchises commingle at some point, Predator versus Alien and stuff. Do you guys mess with those movies?
Oh, I love Alien. Alien is I have three favorite movies. It's Predator, Alien, and The Thing. Like the fucking classic trifecta of like sci-fi horror alien movies.
So Stan Winston made all of those monsters from all three of those movies.
Well, that guy
Really?
fucking rules because he crushed
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
seriously. I mean, he didn't design the xenomorph. That was
Geiger.
yeah. But yeah, I think he actually made the actual monster.
Well, I'm a fan because he is incredibly talented.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I mean, Alien, there was no connection until they made the Alien versus Predator is my understanding.
Well, I think that the actual connection is that they're both 20th Century Fox movies.
Yes.
and they basically had the rights to both, and they were like, well, this is a slam dunk. Like,
Yeah.
let's just
Yeah.
put them together. I mean,
Yeah, you can believe that they're in the same universe for sure.
Keegan-Michael Key actually has a clip where he explains the whole lore of Predator.
I'm told you have a high level of Predator knowledge.
A pretty high level. I'm a bit of a nerd. I am a big fan of the Yautja.
That's the Predator.
Yautja's the species.
That's
the species. They're called the Yautja, and to become an elder clan member of the Yautja, you have to start unblooded as a youth. As a youth, you have to go with two other young Yautja. You have to kill xenomorphs, and then you get to be blooded. And then the way to get to the top echelon is if you kill 3 xenomorph queens.
In Predator 2, you see like a shelf of trophies, and one of them is a xenomorph skull.
Oh.
And so I think that was like a little Easter egg that they just threw into Predator 2. And then so that they were like kind of had license to connect the two, because somebody was just like, oh, let's just throw a alien head in the Predator's trophy case. And there were like comic books after the movie that came out that grew the lore and the storyline. So I think it just made sense.
I've never seen the like Alien versus Predator. I don't know if I want to ruin my like two favorite movies like that. Although I've heard they're fairly watchable, so maybe I should give it a shot.
Yeah, I'm surprised you haven't checked it out. If you love Alien and Predator, it seems like a no-brainer, but I understand wanting to preserve the
Yeah.
sanctity of these
Yeah, keep
these
them separate.
aliens.
It's like, I can never take back seeing Alien Requiem, or Alien 4, but try not to have it too polluted.
Basically, once the Predator is on the loose and he started knocking off the core group. I mean, some of these kills are really good.
Yeah, I think it's Shane Black gets the
Yeah.
first kill.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that wasn't a
Yeah.
mistake. They're like, let's get rid of the writer first.
We don't want to
He's
stick
like-
around for the third pussy joke.
Yeah. And then you start getting some shoulder cannon kills. I think Jesse is the next one to die.
Has his
maybe.
chest blown through, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god, when Bill Duke's head explodes.
Oh yeah.
That's like one of the most incredible shots I've ever seen. It's so good.
The cinematography is really good in the movie.
It's an incredible shot. It's like from the back of his head.
Yeah.
And it just so much blood.
I also wanted to just talk about all of the Predator's assets. He's got invisibility. He's got the shoulder cannon.
Which, does he need to aim the shoulder cannon? Is it like auto aiming turret kind of situation?
Well, that was what I was wondering. Is the triangle dots, the 3 dots that come off of his mask, is that his aim? Like, is that how he aims the shoulder cannon?
Oh,
I thought so.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because you see them show up on Bill Duke's head right before his head explodes.
Yeah.
So it feels like that's his targeting.
And then he's got the knives on his wrist, and then I guess super strength.
Yeah.
He's also quite tall.
Well, and he's got the thermal imaging, which, it's a question. I mean, it's an asset in some situations, but not all situations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you're covered in mud, it's not gonna be great.
Yeah.
That's the funny thing is his one weakness is mud. It's like his kryptonite. Like, he's got a lot going for him, this Predator. He's got a lot of weapons he's coming down to Earth with. But yeah, we don't know why he came, or if it was an accident, or if he's there for a specific reason. But I guess he's just there to hunt.
Yeah, they say he just likes to kill for sport.
Yeah. I mean, it is kind of ambiguous, though. It is, I mean, that's the people's interpretation of it. And it's certainly what makes the most sense in the context of the movie. But yeah, I mean, it is, there's no motivation for him, It's like, okay, he is collecting these trophies, but who really knows? Is he preparing the way for an invasion? Is he just bored?
Yeah. Oh, and the other asset that we didn't talk about is he can mimic voices.
Yeah.
He collects sound waves.
He has tape recording ability.
Oh, that's what's happening.
He can sample. He's like a DJ Predator.
Is that what
Yes.
shows up on the side of the screen when it's in thermal vision? It's there's a
Yeah.
little audio graph or whatever.
Yeah, so if you hear faintly, when Sonny Landham's character is super disturbed and he's just standing there, you can hear that the Predator very faintly in the background is playing his laugh back at him because he collected the laugh. And when it zooms in and it's so he collected that laugh, and then that's what you hear at the very end too when he's blowing himself up. That's why it's got that. It seems really cheesy that he would just have a
Yeah, I was
laugh,
totally
but-
confused.
but it's because he collected that sample and he's just playing it back.
Wow. I have even more respect for the Predator now.
Yeah, he knows sound waves. He'd be a great editor.
Yeah, I do love the sound design whenever you're in from his perspective. It just sounds really cool. When I was watching this, I was kind of surprised how this movie is more of an ensemble kind of thing than I was expecting. I thought it was just going to be Arnold and the Predator pretty much. But yeah, you really get to the sense of all the other guys in the crew. I was wondering, Sean, do you have a favorite of the gang?
You mean non-Arnold favorite?
Yeah, I guess Arnold's your obviously the
Obviously.
favorite. Yeah.
I would say, Jesse the Body Ventura. So the scene after he dies, Mac is like, he was my friend, and is like super distraught over it.
Mm-hmm.
Is there some sort of like homoerotic undertones here that like
Yeah, he's really sad.
he's really sad about it. And like Jesse, Ventura is like obviously like super playing up his like heteronormativeness of like, oh, this turned you into like a sexual tyrannosaur, blah blah blah, and like
drops a big F-bomb.
Yeah, and it just like you seem to be covering up a little bit here. I don't know. Maybe it's just like 2023 me, like looking at like a 1987, art piece and being like, I'm detecting some like real gay vibes here. But I feel like there's an undertone to it.
Yeah, I saw a Letterboxd review that was like, these are all repressed homosexuals.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there definitely is some homoeroticism going on. Just everybody's like trying to one up each other. And I think it's funny that you say that about like maybe Jesse's like covering up for something, because so actually Jesse Ventura was a Vietnam veteran.
Yeah.
And like a Navy SEAL.
Yeah,
and
isn't the actor that played Poncho, didn't he say he like was in the Vietnam War?
Yeah.
Yeah, it took me a while to realize when I was watching. It's like, oh, I thought it was just set in the Vietnam War, and then it took me to realize. I had to like look it up. It's like, oh, this is set in Central America.
Yeah,
I just kind of assumed it was going to be a Vietnam movie.
I think Jesse was really insecure during the shooting of this movie. Like when you look at these interviews of him about this, like he's really going back to his Vietnam days.
Jesse was a Navy SEAL. He didn't need the training. He cakewalked through the training because he's such a tough guy,
I'll put it this way, I wouldn't want to go in real with these guys, but I'll definitely do a film with them.
I know Jesse voiced that opinion a couple of times.
I don't agree with that.
I mean, this was his first role. He's like reliving his Vietnam days.
Mm-hmm.
He's basically competing with the other most muscular person in the world right now, who's also just starting his like big Hollywood career. And there's a really good story. I don't know if you caught it in the making of, when Arnold kind of like played a prank on him.
Oh, about the muscle size?
Yes.
The biggest thrill for me was when we hit wardrobe. And I happened to view Arnold's wardrobe tape, and when my arms taped out 1 inch bigger than Mr. Olympia's, that made Jesse Ventura feel pretty good.
Well, I'm very happy about that, because then my joke worked. Because I told the wardrobe department they should tell him that, so I can bet him a bottle of champagne afterwards when he comes to the gym. He came to the gym 2 days later and he says, you know something, Arnold? We should measure our arms. Who has bigger arms? I said, of course we should. I said, let's bet a bottle of champagne. He says, of course we should. And then we measured it and my arm was 3 inches bigger than his.
What the fuck?
And he lost a bottle of champagne. So, I mean, the psychout trips, they work on everybody, and bodybuilders and also on wrestlers.
Yeah, so Arnold psyched him out.
Yeah, I like how Jesse refers to himself in the third person.
There's an interview with Jay Leno when Jay Leno was guest hosting The Tonight Show, where Jesse comes on in 1987 to promote Predator. And he's got this like snakeskin jacket on.
Kind of a snappy dresser now. This is, looks like fashions by Davy Crockett apparently here. I'm not really kind of a hip snake kind of thing.
Well, actually, these here are interesting because those are my Dalmatian boots.
Dalmatian boots. Somewhere there's a lonely firehouse tonight somewhere.
Do you know how when some places you go and you pick out lobster that you want to eat? Mm-hmm. Well, here down in Mexico, you pick out the Dalmatian pups. The closer the spots, the younger the pup.
Well, the key to show business is winning the crowd in that first time you come out,
He's like, no, they're synthetic.
He just loves being the heel.
His politics are pretty good. Like I feel like from my impression from what I've heard is that as a governor, he was like, whatever, kind of fairly uninteresting, middle of the road, but like, his politics are like really, he's like an actually like interesting libertarian where he's like actually like really interested in like who killed JFK and like really supportive of like, like total like drug legalization and like actually like pretty like consistently anti-war and like, has like some like pretty good politics from my understanding. I'm sure there's some shitty stuff in there because he's a libertarian, but
Yeah, I think he's a little bit in the deep end of some conspiracy theory stuff, but he's also like a big advocate of pot legalization. There's a lot of interviews of him talking about why weed is better than alcohol.
If I were offered, number one, to go to a drinking party or to go to a pot party, I would choose the pot party for 3 reasons. The chances of violence will be slim and none. At the drinking party, about 50-50. Pot party, nobody's going to throw up on me. Drinking party, it can happen. Pot party, you can do it till 3 in the morning, get up at 7 and have a good day at work. Drinking party, drink till 3, you'll never get up at 7 and have a good day.
So he's pretty, vocal about those things, which is great. I mean, he's just not afraid to speak his mind. So,
well, I feel like, I actually kind of like his like being in the deep end on the conspiracy theory stuff. You don't get enough of that, I think, out of politicians. And to have somebody actually out there talking about, Bohemian Grove and the Trilateral Commission.
Yeah, I mean, he's really great in this movie. I mean, I think he fits the role really great. This movie, like I said, it was his first role, and it got him into the Screen Actors Guild. And I think to this day, he still uses his SAG card for insurance and everything. So he's like, I owe everything that I have to my part in The Predator. So
yeah, no, I mean, it's kind of amazing that a part in a movie is a much more lasting value than being governor of a state to him.
Yeah, how does he die again in this movie? I forget.
Gets blasted in the chest.
Oh, the chest blast, yeah.
With the shoulder cannon cauterized.
Yeah, and Carl Weathers gets his arm shot off, right?
Yeah, and it's still shooting.
That's an incredible sequence.
When Bill Duke's character gets spooked, the Predator kind of like winks at him. His like eyes glow a little bit. And he's like, what the fuck? And like the way he just looks freaked out.
Yeah.
Like when and then he just like picks up the gun and just starts firing randomly into the jungle, just tearing apart everything in sight. And I love how like the whole group's like, well, we should do that too. It's like, this is what we do. When we shoot, we all shoot together.
Yeah, that's
well,
funny.
And apparently, the director, is not a huge fan of guns, apparently, and like gunfire in movies. And so like that was his, like showing like how kind of like useless and impotent these things are, which I found pretty, interesting as like, like this is a little subversive, just like, you have all these like muscle men shooting all these guns, and it's like that doesn't really solve anything. Like what solves things in the end is Arnold Schwarzenegger outwitting the Predator, which, going back to, Zach had mentioned that, he thought this was like a Vietnam War originally. And in some ways, it kind of is, but like Arnold Schwarzenegger is the Viet Cong and like the Predator is the US.
Oh, that's an interesting way to think of it. Yeah.
Well, you have this like overwhelming like technological superiority and like manpower superiority or whatever, but like, Arnold Schwarzenegger like still manages to like outwit and like destroy this enemy. And then in the end, the enemy like tries to just like blow everything up as like a fuck you.
Wow. That's a great comparison.
So I don't know if that was really intentional or not. But I don't know. That was something that
I think it's a great way to look at it. I mean, like when they have that whole sequence where they're like cutting down the vines, or like when Sonny Landham is like drinking from the vine, it's like they know this terrain in a very intimate way, and he can make these like booby traps and stuff. But the Predator does too. He's got that log trap that hits Poncho right in the chest.
Yeah.
He's like, I can still make it. It's like, no, dude, your ribs are crushed.
Yeah, that final showdown's so good. It goes on for longer than I was expecting. It's just like him and the Predator for feels like 20 or 30 minutes, or I don't know.
It is a lot.
But it's great.
Yeah.
It's what I want from a climax of a movie.
Yeah.
Just like really sit in this conflict. These two guys going at it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the other thing that I love about the Predator is that he's like also a doctor.
Yeah.
He knows how to do surgery on himself.
Yeah, he got all the syringes and
And he's got the hobbies with like taking out the spinal cord and the skulls and caressing them, you know.
Well, I feel like, most like big game hunters are like dentists or doctors or whatever that like go off to Africa. So maybe he is like, a fucking predator world dentist.
Yeah, he's just fucking loaded.
He's like Donald Trump Jr.
Yeah, exactly. It's like dilettante rich kid, like, I'm going on safari. I'm gonna post all this shit on Instagram, and like ends up getting
Jimmy John.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Jimmy John Predator. Yeah, I do want to talk about a little bit about Bill Duke, or as Mac. I don't know. I think he might be my favorite outside of Arnold. He just has so many good moments, like just him like wiping away the sweat with the razor, and like him like talking to the moon, and like I don't know. He just gives a great performance, and there's also one part where he's like repeating back like the lyrics of Long Tall Sally.
Yeah.
No, that's a great scene of him just like, I'm gonna chase down the predator, and like mumbling to himself and being all like sweaty and crazy eyed. Yeah, no, he does great in the movie. You're absolutely correct.
Yeah, you can just see like his psyche breaks the most out of anyone else, and he's awesome at delivering that.
Well, yeah, his boyfriend just got shot in the chest.
I would be pretty freaked out too.
He was my boyfriend.
we were friends.
But again, like Sonny Landham, I love how, I mean, just talking about the side characters, just how we talk about like people who understand the terrain, like he's like can like sniff out these things, he's like kind of the wilderness guru. Or
well, he's the Native American. I mean, let's not like beat around the bush. He's the Native American.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. At the end of the movie, is he like sacrificing himself, or like because he?
Yeah.
Or like what is he?
You don't see him die.
No, that
he's just
kind of interesting.
He's not trying to fight him.
Yeah, he's just like, come and get me kind of thing. Like, I think he's like kind of like trying to create some sort of a diversion so they can go, and he'll be like basically the bait.
Yeah, he like cuts himself with the knife on his chest, and like, yeah, I wanted to see him die a little bit, but
he's like the voice of reason too. Like when the guy's like, that man out there is something, and he's like, that ain't no man.
Yeah,
like, and he's just like, we're all gonna die.
Yeah. Well, he's the first that sees it. He like sees like that there's like shit in the trees and like things going on. Like he's the first person that like climbs up and sees all the skinned bodies, and he knows, that it's not a human, not a fucking jaguar, like that they're fucked.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of interesting that he does just like decide he's not gonna run anymore, and like wants a standoff with the predator. Like I'm not really sure what his thought process is there.
Yeah, I thought we'd at least get a good kill out of him like when he does that, but you just kind of hear him scream, and that's it.
Yeah
I'm with you. I don't think that I knew that this was where Get to the Chopper came from either.
Yeah, the first time he says "get to the chopper," it's really quick, and I'm like, "Wait, is that the iconic line?" And it's like that. I don't think he says it like that. I feel like people say it differently than that. And then like 15 minutes later, he actually does "get to the chopper." And it's like, oh, yep, this is that movie.
Yeah.
I was wondering, Sean, if I know we did talk about some of the one-liners, but do you have like a favorite one-liner from this movie?
Yeah, actually, so the thing about the one-liners in this movie is it's really confined to like the first third of the movie or so. Like there's a couple good quips, when they're like attacking the rebel base.
Yeah, like stick around when he throws that huge machete.
Yeah, no, and like I ain't got time to bleed.
Or knock knock.
Yeah, exactly.
Knock.
And so, it's kind of like incongruous with the rest of the movie. And one of the things that I was reading is that rebel attack scene where they're attacking the rebel base was not filmed by McTiernan. It was like a second production team. And so that's one of the reasons that it feels a little dissonant from the rest of the film. And I think it ultimately works, of just like establishing it as like, like a standard 80s, badasses go out into the jungle, blah, blah, blah. And then like it ultimately falls apart because, they're a bunch of children fighting against this like super advanced being, basically.
Yeah, that makes sense because, you were saying how Tiernan doesn't like guns, but in that sequence, the movie loves guns.
No, and apparently he was like not crazy about that scene and like thought about, reshooting it or like cutting large parts of it or the studio like convinced him to keep it. And it does work in the movie, but it is, a little out of step with the rest of the movie.
Yeah, it does. It's a tonal shift for
Yes,
sure.
yes. Thank you.
Do you have a favorite line, Zach?
It's probably just Dylan, you son of a bitch.
CIA still have you pushing pencils?
Also, just like Carl Weathers' character being named Dylan is funny to me for some reason. I don't know.
Like it's much more of a nerd name.
He just doesn't look like a Dylan. I don't know. That's just really good. And Arnold delivers it perfectly.
Well, a lot of that stuff was ad-libbed.
Yeah, I wonder what the script for this movie even looks like if those lines aren't even in there. It's just must be like 5 pages.
And the script was written by Jim and John Thomas brothers.
Oh.
So there's the family connection.
Okay, did you see where that oriented from as a joke about Rocky? That it was originally supposed to be Rocky fights the space alien, basically.
Which is a great premise.
Yeah. And somehow it turned into Predator, which is also great, but I do think I'd like to see Rocky fight an alien.
Yeah. Another element I really like in this movie, I think, is the music. Or I was paying attention to the score, because there is a lot of this movie that is just them tromping through the jungle. No one's talking, but you're feeling the tension, and the tension's all from the score, really.
Yeah.
Like, it makes you feel like you're being hunted. And there's like some parts where it does like this really cool like drum thing. It's like
yeah,
and it like reminds me of like Ocarina of Time or something. There's like a dungeon that has like a very similar kind of like tribal drum to it, and so that was a nice association for me. And yeah, I think the score is awesome. Cinematography, which we were talking about, is really good.
Yeah, the way that the score stings the title in the very beginning, or just
yeah,
yeah. No, I mean, movie is just solid all around. I feel like I've hit pretty much everything I want to talk about, but is there anything else that we didn't touch on, Sean?
Well, one interesting thing about this movie, and I don't, have this fully fleshed out as an idea yet, but it's one of the only movies that like touches on like the like 80s Latin American like dirty wars. Which is interesting. I mean, there's a lot of, obviously like Vietnam movies, and anytime like a war movie set in the jungle, like it's like Vietnam vibes or whatever. But like, it is kind of interesting, the politics of it, where it's like, this is like the CIA mission, like the CIA is lying to like these like noble American soldiers. They're going in and doing these like weird, shady, like kind of, deceptive things.
Blowing up communists,
and stopping a Russian invasion or something. But
throwing them in the meat grinder.
Yeah. But then like, the whole Predator aspect, it's like, does this like track as like a like political analogy? And I'm not sure it really does, other than like, what I was talking about earlier about Vietnam, and even that's kind of a bit of a stretch.
Were you guys kind of rooting for Predator though, or like,
oh, for sure,
was part of you wanted Arnold to die?
I mean, it's like, no, I guess you are rooting for Arnold to get out of it in some way, but I mean, I want personally just to see more Predator kills. Like, I'm just like, I'm rooting to see how this thing is going to evaporate everybody in sight, or just slaughter them, or skin them, or pull out their spines and collect their skulls. It's like pretty awesome.
They should make a more straightforward Predator where he's like, killing like cartel members or like other big game hunters. Like he like goes to Africa and like kills, Jimmy John or whatever.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I would love that.
That's so good.
Yeah, I watched this movie with my buddy Scott, and he was so disappointed that Arnold makes it out. He just wanted Arnold to get killed by the Predator. It might have been a more satisfying conclusion if he just got blown up along with the Predator instead of the whole riding off in the helicopter shot.
And then in the sequels, you could have him have Arnold's skull, which would be awesome.
This really meaty skull
next to the xenomorph skulls.
At one point they like kick a vulture, and that I wrote that down in my notes. It's like, oh, they kicked the vulture. That's something.
I wonder if they did that in real life. Like,
it looked like he really connected with the vulture.
Yeah.
It did not look like a miss. And then I also really love the end credit sequence where you get to see all the actors cheesing to the camera.
Oh my God, that is such a great choice.
Yeah.
They were just like, everybody just turn and smile.
Like this is the beginning of a sitcom.
Yeah, exactly.
It's exactly that. There's got to be a video out there that somebody like put the step-by-step music behind that or something. It's so perfect. It's like everyone's okay. Don't worry. Nobody died. It's just a movie.
Yeah, I'm so thankful I got to see this movie finally. It was so good.
It's incredible.
It's what I always wanted from an Arnold Schwarzenegger action movie, you know?
No, it's just straightforward, like cool sci-fi elements, like a bunch of like ripped muscles and
yeah, and the whole movie's in the jungle. There's no bullshit where there's flashbacks or anything. It's like, no, we're staying in the jungle the whole time, and that's how it should be.
I'm glad you guys both got to see it for the first time. That's a real joy.
Yeah. It was a great time. The cast is great. I feel like there's some realism with the movie too, because they like really are in that jungle. They really were at their wits' end, like pushing their body to like a physical limit. You know,
yeah,
you have
getting sick, bitten by insects. Like, yeah, I'm sure the whole
and the actors, like some of them had real war experience, so they were channeling that. And I don't know, it's just such a great kickoff to what will be a legendary career run for Arnold, and great apparently a great way to promote yourself as governor for at least two of the actors.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, thank you so much, Sean, for bringing this movie to my attention. I would have never guessed that you would have picked this movie, but I'm so glad that you did, because it is a classic, and I'm so glad that I finally got to see it.
Yeah, it does make me want to watch the Predator sequels, which might be a bad thing to do, but I just have that temptation now that I've seen Predator.
Or you could just watch all the Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. I feel like that's the real follow-up move.
I mean, yeah, he doesn't have too many bad ones in the bunch, and even the bad ones are still fun to watch Arnold just do his thing.
Yeah, Jingle All the Way, great.
Yeah, he has 126 actor credits on Letterboxd, so it'll take us a while to get through them all. But
but you just gotta go with the. I mean, Terminator 2, my favorite movies of all time.
Same.
Have you guys seen amazing. Junior, the one where he's pregnant?
No,
I haven't. I need to.
I watched Twins, and that was really bad. There was not. I thought it was going to be like so bad it's funny, but there's just no
bad.
joy in it.
Yeah.
Man, Sean, thank you so much for joining us here on Film with Family.
Thank you. This was a good time.
If this is your first time listening to Film with Family, make sure to subscribe to the podcast, rate us, leave a good review, no bad reviews. Follow us on social media on Instagram and Twitter at Film with Family. If you want to send us an email, we got filmwithfamilypodcast@gmail.com. Send us a voice recording or whatever you want. Also, if you want to see what we're watching outside of this podcast, follow us on Letterboxd by just typing in our names: Austin C. Pruitt, Zachary Zweifler. I love my family, and I love the movies.
I love you guys too, and get to the CHOPPA.